You don't understand. One, Israel has a right to defend itself. Oh my God, they got John Kirby, of course, weighing on the head of Hezbollah leader Hasan Nasrallah. You guys don't understand. One, Israel has a right to defend itself. Two, Israel has a right to take over that territory if it chooses to do so in an effort to defend itself.
Yet at this pivotal moment, I want to address you, the people of Iran. I want to do so directly, without filters, without...
Uh-oh. Bro, same playbook. Israel has a right to defend itself. I love that he's talking to the people of Iran in English. Uh-oh. I want to free the Palestinian people from Hamas. I want to free the Lebanese people from Hezbollah. And I want to free the Iranian people from Ayatollah. Where have I heard this before? It might as well be the kiss of dog. When Israel says, oh, I care about the people, that means he's going to send some packages, okay?
Middlemen. Every day, you see a regime that subjugates you make fiery speeches about defending Lebanon, defending Gaza. Yet every day, that regime plunges our region deeper into darkness and deeper into war. Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Muhammad Def, ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. The vast majority of Iranians know their regime doesn't care a whit about them. If it did care.
I think what's really funny about this is that, like, you can make the exact same article example out of Benjamin Netanyahu and Jews across the world, and certainly Jews in Israel too. But anyway, this is like telegraphed even from the invocation of Persian to the Los Angeles constituency, okay? He is not talking to the Iranians. Well, he is. He's threatening the Iranians in Iran, just like when he said this about Lebanon. He was threatening the Lebanese population, or at least like just telling him, like, you're going to get... That's what it is. This is great.
If it cared about you, it would stop wasting billions of dollars on futile wars across the Middle East. It would start improving your lives. Imagine if all...
It's so funny because it's like, again, resource-rich nation, and like one of the biggest problems it faces is not necessarily its like funding of around the region, like its funding of the axis of resistance, but instead unimaginable levels of sanctions that it has to deal with on a daily fucking basis. Like, it's literally Israel and America.
All the vast money the regime wasted on nuclear weapons and foreign wars were invested in your children's education and improving your health care, in building your nation's infrastructure, water, sewage, all the other things that you need.
It's so funny that we're watching this because it is damn near identical to Hitler being like, to Hitler doing those speeches. Well, I guess like Hitler didn't truly want to, you know, get the smoke from England. But remember those Hitler speeches that we were looking at, the AI translation, or like all the misinformation surrounding all of these like Hitler lovers basically lying about his intentions to present him as like a peaceful dove, while also simultaneously being like, you know, he had to deal with the Jewish problem. And it's like, what the f are you saying, dog? You are literally an anti-Semite. Anyway, a lot of those speeches hold great resemblance to what Benjamin Netanyahu is saying here. It's like, I don't know if there was any AI translation of like early Hitler speeches towards like his ambitions in Eastern Europe, but it would probably resemble what he is saying here. We have no smoke for you. We want to defend our citizens. We just simply want to live side by side with you, and we want to make sure that, you know, you are saved from the scourge of communism. Yeah, he said the same exact, bro, after he spoke to the people of Lebanon, also in English with English subtitles. Can you explain to us regular viewers why Lebanon is not fighting the Hezbollah? What? Why would Lebanon fight more Lebanon? Also, there's virtually no like real standing Lebanese military. Hezbollah is Lebanon's only form of defense against Israel.
Imagine that. But you know one simple thing. Iran's tyrants don't care about your future, but you do. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. our two countries, Israel and Iran, will be at peace. When that day comes, the network that the regime built in 5 continents will be bankrupt, dismantled. Iran will thrive as never before. Global investment, massive tourism, brilliant technological innovation based on the tremendous...
What? I'm new here. Why weren't American revolutionaries simply protesting George Washington?
Tremendous talents that exist inside Iran. Doesn't that sound better than endless poverty, repression, and war? From Qom to Isfahan, from Shiraz to Tabriz, there are tens of millions of good and decent people with thousands of years of history behind them and a brilliant future ahead of them. Don't let a small group of fanatic theocrats crush your hopes and your dreams. You deserve better. Your children deserve better. The entire world deserves better. I know you don't support...
He's right. I just feel this way about Israel, though, and America. Like, remember what I said about reactionaries? Like, reactionaries love to talk about the exact same that they are pulling off in their own countries, but then, like, complain about it when brown people do it, you know, when browner people do it. It's always the same. People will be like, I can't believe the Taliban, bro. I hate what they're doing. And it's like, dog, you want the same thing, but Christian. Like, what are you saying right now? I can see your other tweets, okay? Oh, man, you hate fanatic theocrats, huh? You hate them so much, you put them in your governing coalition. You hate them so much that you are one. I love when this guy says, yeah, fanatic theocrats are putting the interests of their own ambitions, putting their own personal interests against the interests of the people. It's like, you're talking about you. You're talking about America and you.
The rapists of Hamas and Hezbollah, but your leaders do. You deserve more. The people of Iran should know Israel stands with you.
Yeah, you deserve more. It seems you haven't been enough as of late.
You. May we together know a future of prosperity and peace.
What rapes did Hezbollah do? Bro, what rapes did Hamas do? What are you talking about? Like, there is one instance in captivity that we have actually gotten verifiable evidence on. Beyond that, the systematized mass rapes that Hamas dealt on October 7, not a single bit of that has been verified. And people still run with it over and over and over again. Meanwhile, we know Israel has done it. What do you mean there's no Lebanese army? Hasn't America donated more than $3 billion to the Lebanese armed forces to advocate for its security, according to the U.S. Department of State? Yes, there is a standing Lebanese military, but it's basically nothing in comparison to Hezbollah. Yeah.
CNN has learned of cross-border commando raids by Israel into Lebanon, into the southern part of the country. These raids back and forth could be a sign that a larger ground invasion could be coming. Obviously, they've been on Beirut for days now. Let's get right to CNN Chief National Security Analyst and anchor Jim Sciutto, who is in Tel Aviv. Jim, these raids, what do they show and what do they tell us?
Yeah. Well, John...
More explosions about 5 minutes away from my home in Beirut. Jannah, I have no choice but to drive up to the mountains now. Have a good stream. Good luck with educating some of these delinquents. Hopefully, brother, one day you will live in peace and harmony. Okay? Inshallah. Stay safe, chatter. Phase ended. Oh, the phase subathon ended. Congratulations to the phase subbers. Okay, I phased up. I participated in that a little bit. As y'all know, I stay phased up and I stay prayed up.
You could call these shaping operations, smaller special forces raids, as well as just the barrage that we've seen over the last several days, not just taking out Hezbollah leadership, but going after firing positions, missile launch sites, missile and rocket storage sites in southern Lebanon, would all be part of laying the groundwork for a broader ground incursion or small-scale invasion, whatever language you use. So one can say that those operations have already begun. And keep in mind what the Israeli goal here is, as stated publicly. We're not guessing about this. Israel's goal, as officials have described, is to move Hezbollah back from the border. And to do that, they seem to be making it clear they don't just intend to do damage to Hezbollah forces along the border, but push them back. The typical dividing line is the Litani River, about 10 miles back from the border, so that when you have the Israeli defense minister go speak to Israeli forces now massing on the northern border and use this phrase, we will deploy all the capabilities at our disposal, that's quite clear public signaling about what may very well be the next step. And I think you could see these special operations raids, as well as the that we've seen in recent days, as part of that same ground operation.
Jim, what is now known about Hezbollah as it is currently constituted?
Yeah, Jim, tell us more from Tel Aviv about how Hezbollah is the true evil here, and that's why Israel has to defend itself by invading Lebanon. Come on, guys. Don't you get it, dude? This is a tale as old as time itself. Israel has never in its history, at least in its outward communication, I'm not talking about Ben-Gurion's like writings about how it is a colonial force or whatever, or how they must purge the indigenous population there. And of course, the indigenous population there is going to fight back. But in terms of its like outward Western facing communication, Israel has never been like, yeah, we want this land. It's for us. You. Okay. No, it's always, we need to defend ourselves. Okay. The Holocaust happened. We need a place. If we don't have a place, then the Holocaust too is going to happen again and again and again. Okay. That's why we need this place. That's why we need this space. Now we're going to carry on a genocide. And the more territory that they've taken over throughout time, the more they have kept just encroaching on other regional boundaries and destroying them, gutting them, never letting them have any opportunity to create a nation state like Palestine, while simultaneously going, oh, well, our people moved there. We have to defend themselves. We have a right to defend ourselves. We have to defend those people there. This is just the strategy since day one. It's not like Israel didn't say this about the West Bank. They did this. They did this in Golan Heights. They did this in every territory that it is occupied. Oh, we got to defend ourselves, man. We just got to do it. We got to do the damn thing. It's crazy. Like, and anyone that doesn't recognize exactly what's going on, which is identical to what they said about Gaza. Bro, they said this about Gaza. They literally were like, we are liberating the terrorists. We are liberating the Palestinian children from their Hamas captors. Israel must have a right to defend itself. Boom. Genocide in Gaza. Okay. Same about places where there's no Hamas, like the West Bank. They got to defend themselves from the terror children in the West Bank occupied territory, which we must occupy. Now they're doing it in Lebanon. Oh, we want to separate the Lebanese population from the treacherous nature of Hezbollah. We want to separate the Iranian population from the treacherous theocracy of the Ayatollah regime. We know what that means when they say that.
An ability to carry out retaliation.
You know what, John? I think to some degree in recent days and weeks, if you go back, for instance, to the pager attack, as well as the on Friday of Nasrallah, we've seen something of a piercing of the bubble of Hezbollah's military capabilities. As advertised, this was Iran's strongest proxy weapon in the Middle East and against Israel, its strongest piece of that ring of fire around Israel. We talked to great length about the many tens of thousands of missiles and rockets, etc. But now, in just a few days' time, Israel has not only dismantled its leadership right up to the very top, but it's taken out a lot of those very missiles, which raises questions as to whether, even if a decision were made by Hezbollah to carry out a sizable retaliation, who would make that decision and how would they communicate that to field commanders to then carry it out? It's not clear that they have the capability to do that. And I don't mean to underestimate.
Wait, did I tell you have a right to defend yourself from the top of the hour ad break? Because I might have forgotten. Did I serve it? No? Well, you do by subscribing. You do. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and you have a right to defend yourself from said ad break by subscribing, which you can do for $4 before it ends, before the month of September ends, or for free with the Twitch Prime. Gizmo Max says, you are both a mod and also a subscriber. You are fine, okay? But others who are not fine, the defenseless, you might get gifted a sub if you are lucky. Even Israeli officials say that other than they've barely hurt Hezbollah's capacity. Of course, dude. And also, this doesn't like magically go away. People's resentment towards Israel, them, and their family members doesn't go away when Hasan Nasrallah is. It's not like the guy was single-handedly like brainwashing everyone in Lebanon into hating Israel, okay? That's why the exact same approach exists in Lebanon as well. Yahya Sinwar, okay? It's not like the Palestinian people are going to be like, oh, I guess it's over now. Like, I guess thank you for humiliating us and subjugating us and destroying our lives, I now have a totally different analysis of the situation. It's like, dude, what are you saying? People are still going to want to understandably fight back. Like, gutting the command structure of Hezbollah doesn't do anything. It just like kind of buys you time for a brief moment. But if you immediately go and invade afterwards, you'll see that that command structure it still has a very clear line of succession. This is a standing military with a lot of combat experience.
Hezbollah's remaining arsenal or the threat, but the blow that Israel has struck in recent days really raises questions as to what they're capable of. And we should also keep in mind Iran's public comments, which has been to say, we're kind of leaving this to Hezbollah to retaliate. We're effectively sitting this one out, not to minimize Iran's own.
My Lebanese Catholic friend wore black and was mourning Nasrallah. So many are pro-resistance, even in communities that traditionally weren't. Of course. Like, dude, of course, man. Of course. Like, these people understand why Israel Hasan Nasrallah. They didn't Hasan Nasrallah because he's homophobic or his, like, domestic politics in Lebanon. They killed him because he stood as a threat to Israel, doing whatever the f*** it wanted in the region. Anyone who tries to tell you that is different, okay? Like, there are Christian Palestinians, Christian Lebanese people in this chat that also understand exactly what I'm saying. There are Syrians who celebrate of Hasan Nasrallah, partially because of the Hezbollah operations in Syria, but also I'm certain that there are Syrians who don't necessarily hate the operations, especially against ISIS-style Syrian forces, you know? But none of that matters in this situation. What matters is what Israel is doing. And what matters is why Israel did what it did. They openly stated it. They did not kill him for any reason other than the fact that he was fighting against and putting a price on Israel's permanent genocide of the Palestinians. And if you were to ask those Syrians who are celebrating Hasan Nasrallah's, I'm sure many of them would probably tell you that Israel is still a far greater threat, unless they're stupid. And people can be stupid, for the record.
Capabilities, but at least from the public messaging standpoint, they seem to be keeping their powder dry as well.
It is something that absolutely bears watching. Is Hezbollah on its heels as much as it seems, at least from everything we see and hear? Jim Sciutto, it's great to have you there as our eyes and ears. Thank you so much. Sarah?
All right.
If Israel attacks Iran, would Russia respond? I don't think so. Yep, Maronite Lebanese here. Hezbollah is not without sin and has treated Syrians horribly. We don't forgive that, while simultaneously recognizing Hezbollah is the only thing standing between another occupation and the Lebanese people, and no other social, economic, or issues can be properly dealt with during genocide. Yes, that's like, this is something that Americans will never comprehend because they have been the dominant force in their lifetime and in the lifetimes of their parents and great-grandparents, okay? And even before then, they were a settler colony. So they were always the dominating force. There's only been like 17 years since 1776 where the conflict, and sheltered from the impact of said active conflict due to its geopolitical placement on the map. Okay, it's far away from all of that it deals by nature, surrounded by sea. So Americans have no way of understanding why people that might have differences in opinion in terms of like domestic affairs will harden their position and recognize the true evil or the greater enemy that is destroying them. Like the 3-minute ad break that I forgot to run, which I'm running right now. Okay. They Hasan Nasrallah for the same reason that the Ismail Haniyeh. I mean, the Ismail Haniyeh thing is even worse, honestly. Isn't this just sort of a similar argument that there's no point in taking out Al-Qaeda leadership because they would just reconstitute under the cause of hating American imperialism? But Al-Qaeda doesn't exist now, so... Dog, if you're comparing Al-Qaeda to Hezbollah, I don't know what to tell you, okay? It's like thinking that if you American generals, that the American military is going to cease to exist, okay? That's the better comparison. Also, Al-Qaeda still exists, largely as a consequence of our great ally Saudi Arabia consistently using it as a weapon in places like Yemen, as a matter of fact. So, I don't know. Like, whenever people talk about, like, Al-Qaeda or ISIS and bring these, like, obvious militant groups that are Salafist in nature or are funded and facilitated and doing so much than destruction to not necessarily America or American interests really, but certainly against like America's enemies or wherever America has interest in invading or whatever. It's like if you're comparing them to their natural enemies in the region like Hezbollah or Hamas, regardless of their different sects, because Hamas is Sunni, Hezbollah is Shia, okay? But if you are comparing these groups to one another and pointing to their similarities in any capacity, I think you might be a little bit Islamophobic. I don't want to say that about you, chatter. You seem to be at least like somewhat charitable here. But the only comparison that you can point to is that they're just like, they kind of look the same, I guess, from afar, because they got big beards and sometimes wear turbans, and, you know, because in its action, okay, and also direct allegiances, okay, you can say the enemy and my enemy is my friend or whatever, but like in terms of like offering material support, Israel has aligned with ISIS in the past, openly in Syria, okay? Israel has. Saudi Arabia, another ally of Israel, still very much utilizes al-Qaeda in a similar capacity. So the notion that like these guys, like Hezbollah, like America's enemies are closer to ISIS and al-Qaeda is so funny when it's actually America's ally and America itself in its own material interests aligned with ISIS and al-Qaeda in the region. Israel also, much like ISIS, desecrates cultural landmarks on a regular basis. Israel also uses the shield of religion as a justification for its actions, just like ISIS does, okay? And Israel, on top of that, has directly given weapons to ISIS in Syria and has offered medical treatment to ISIS in Syria. I'm not arguing one way or another, just saying they both have reasonable basis for fighting against Israel and or Western forces. What? Not hating against al-Qaeda or ISIS is ridiculous. What the? Saudis are Zionists now. They're not supporting al-Qaeda just because they're Sunni Lamafal. That's not how it works. I'd believe you if you said Qatar. Sorry, but Sunni jihadists, Saudi Arabia equals Saudi Arabia / Israel is Iranian Kool-Aid. I don't know what you're saying. I agree with some of the things that you're saying, but I don't think you understood what I said at all. I don't think Saudi Arabia is supporting al-Qaeda because they're Sunni. I think Saudi Arabia is supporting al-Qaeda because it is comprised of Saudis, and it is a militant asset that Saudi Arabia uses in a similar vein to like how America uses ISIS from time to time. Also, Israel is supposed to be the Jewish state. How does that factor into your equation when Israel is aligning with ISIS? Saudi supported the Salafist rebels in Syria that literally tried to ethnically cleanse the Christian village I'm from. Yeah.
This morning, the U.S. is preparing its military as fears grow that Iran may be planning retaliatory attacks. CNN's Arlette Saenz is at the White House with more on how the Biden administration is sort of viewing all of this at the moment. And they're meeting at this very moment. What are you learning, Arlette?
Well, Sarah, President Biden is hoping to prevent this situation from escalating into a wider regional conflict that could engulf the region. That is something that the administration has feared and really tried
Tantuni or Monte, easy.
to work to prevent for the past year. Now, a U.S. official tells CNN that one major area of concern right now is the possibility that Iran could be planning an attack in the wake of Hamas leader Hasan Nasrallah just last Friday. So the U.S. is working with Israel on its defenses, this U.S. official said, hoping that a joint defense and a change in the U.S. military posture in the region could potentially ward off a potential attack. Now, this official did not outline what an Iranian attack would look like or specify the exact moves that the U.S. could take. But the Pentagon, in a statement on Sunday, did stress that if Iran tries to, or any of its partners or proxies,
being charitable, but I think what that chatter was saying is that ideological insurgent forces like Hezbollah and al-Qaeda can be broken from their American hatred with consistent security measures. No, because Hezbollah's reason for existence and continued war is directly a consequence of Israel's actions in the region. Okay? The more it's more similar to the Taliban, if you want to fucking talk about it like that. Okay? Another Islamist fundamentalist military force that also controls civil governance, okay, historically in Afghanistan. The reason why many do not want to make the Taliban comparison is because it is one that does not favor that argument that they're trying to make. That's it. That's it. 20 years of Afghanistan And then we just gave the country back to the Taliban and off, only hardening their position. Iran's regional affairs, Lebanon, Hezbollah, Palestinian territories, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hamas, Iraq, PMU militias, Yemen, the Houthis, Bahrain, Al-Ashtar brigades, Syria, several militias.
Tries to use this moment to target either American.
Aiden Hutchinson on the Lions wearing a straight up Hasan fit tonight. Damn, swagged out. I would rock this for real. He's got, I mean, down to the Travis Scotts too. Travis Scott's real tree camo, sleeveless vest up top. I don't think I would go with the real tree in this though. Honestly, I feel like it's a little bit. It's a bit much. Piss jug in tow.
Personnel or American interests that the U.S. would respond to defend the American people. The Pentagon has noted that they have significant capabilities.
She called Hassan Nasrallah a Hamas leader. Yeah, I don't care, man. What difference? What difference does it make? It's a distinction without a difference. Hamas, Hezbollah is the same. Houthis is the same. Okay, they're all against Israel and America. So they're all bad guys, no matter what they do. Okay, they're bad across the board, and because they're bad in their domestic affairs, they're also bad in their deterrence measures against the state of Israel. Israel is good. The propaganda is always going to be the same. Make no mistake. I'm not saying that like I agree with these guys every day of the week. Of course I'm not, but it doesn't matter. It does not fucking matter at all because that's not why they're getting because they provide a deterrence to Israel.
In the region, including a carrier group, and they are also working to increase the readiness of U.S. troops who could mobilize to the region. Now, President Biden on Saturday convened a meeting of his national security team along with Vice President Kamala Harris to assess the situation in the Middle East and also talk about the readiness of U.S. military forces. And just yesterday, he stressed to reporters that he believes an all-out war must be avoided. Take a listen.
Can an all-out war in the Middle East be avoided? It has to be. We really have to avoid it.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it, jackass? You don't want to avoid it, dude. Get the out of here. Get the out of here, dude.
We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave. But we're not there yet, but we're working like hell with the French and many others. Thank you.
That last line there is a reference to the U.S. hope that there could be some type of diplomatic solution to try to return Israeli and Lebanese civilians back to their homes.
Why are the Lebanese forces retreating? Amazing how they say you're an empathizer because you do basic assessments of these world events. It's never counter arguments or something intelligent. It's why I get my news from you. Thank you. Yeah. No, it sucks because it's like that line of attack is of course a very, very successful line of attack. That's all you need to do. You just go, he's just supporting. It's like, nope, I don't support Israel and I don't support America. Okay. You can't say that. No. These guys are the far greater in that regard. Okay. Bro, stop reading comments that agree with you. I got to do that every now and then, chatter. I always read the haters. Once the dust settles, you're going to get blamed for the genocide by liberals because you weren't loud enough. No. I think that this community and myself will probably get blamed for Kamala Harris's defeat if she loses in November. This is what X said 2 days ago. Who's X? Like Twitter? I saw someone call you a 4chan Nazi for watching a clip. Yeah, dude. It's ironic because virtually every single person that says that is directly a 4chan Nazi. Either was a 4chan Nazi and now they think they're a liberal, but they still want to say the N-word as a white guy, or are directly still very much a 4chan Nazi, but they know liberals are so squishy and so easily duped, you know? Weird question. If you don't agree with America, why live in America? Well, one of the beautiful aspects of America is that I can disagree with it and still live here. And secondly, where am I supposed to go? I have thought about it. This is like the 1 year for the first time in my life after living here for almost 2 decades at this point. This is one of the first instances where I was like, damn, man, I maybe should leave because this sucks. The problem is, where do I go? You know, where do I go? I go that isn't directly involved with America. And do I want to live there? Don't come to Germany. Shit's cooked. Exactly. Most of Western Europe is directly cooked and the conditions are worsening there in a similar capacity. You said Austria. That's a funny time to say that, chatter. Like, oh yeah, I left the American Nazi governance to go directly to Austria, which is trying to do exactly what it did historically not that long ago, not even 100 years ago. Anyway, there is virtually no country on the fucking planet yet Jesus Christ, don't ever advocate for change in the place you call home. I know. And well, the other side of that story is I've thought about like potentially leaving America like once ever in my life. First time ever I've thought about it. And immediately my second thought was, well, I'm not like I'm not going to run away from the problem. I'm going to keep fighting against the problem. That's it. Especially because I know if I did, they'd be like, oh, that left America. Why are you still talking about American affairs? You left America, is what the people would say. When I didn't have a nice car, they would say, you're driving around in a busted down Toyota Camry because you want to LARP as a poor person. When I got a nice car, they said, oh, look at this rich piece of buying and flexing his nice car. There's no winning. I just do what I do.
President Biden also said he does plan to speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu soon, though officials have not detailed how soon that conversation might happen. But Biden making very clear there that he wants to take whatever steps possible to try to ensure that this war does not spill out into a wider regional conflict that would engulf the whole region.
Arlette Saenz, thank you so much for reporting there from the White House. Kate?
And with us now to talk much more about all of this is a former IDF spokesperson, retired Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conriquez. Thank you so much for coming in. It's good to see you. So this new reporting that's
crazy, bro. They brought this ugly freak back. Oh my God. Dude, they're running the hits. Wow. They even brought the same guys back, dude. Israel dropped these guys and American media is still using them. That's wonderful. What a delight. What a delight. What's next, bro? Are you going to bring Elon Levy? Dog, this is so the same exact strategy that they're running now for Hezbollah in Lebanon that they were running for Hamas in Gaza, that they are unironically using the same people. They're dusting them off.
Israeli special forces have been carrying out targeted raids into southern Lebanon, gathering intelligence ahead of a possible ground incursion. From your experience, if this is happening, do you think a ground incursion is inevitable?
Well, nothing is inevitable. First of all, good morning to you, and thanks for having me. Nothing is inevitable if at this stage ceasefire agreements or talks would be successful, and the French and the Americans would get Hezbollah to agree to implement Security Council Resolution 1701 and move beyond the Litani River, then no such ground operations would be necessary. Israeli civilians would be able to move back to their homes, and I think Israel would be very happy to avail itself to other threats that it has against its national security, unfinished business in Gaza and elsewhere. So no, this is definitely something that can be avoided, but as the trajectory is now, it looks as if nobody's really making it something that can be avoidable. And Israel, as a sovereign country, has a responsibility towards its people to allow them to go home safely. And I think the operations and what you refer to, the information, is part of making that happen and taking the necessary preparations in order to bring their civilians home.
Stabilizing news.
Guys, you don't understand. One, Israel has a right to defend itself. Oh my God, they got John Kirby, of course, weighing on the head of Hezbollah leader Hasan Nasrallah. You guys don't understand. One, Israel has a right to defend itself. Two, Israel has a right to take over that territory if it chooses to do so in an effort to defend itself even better. Okay. Also, three, best defense is a great offense. Okay. And last but not least, we promise we won't take over that territory that we used to occupy before Hezbollah existed, if Hezbollah just, puts their arms down and retreats.
The Middle East, where the Lebanese have just recovered the body of Hasan Nasrallah, the leader of Iran-backed Hezbollah, which the U.S. government considers a group, who was by an Israeli on Friday. President Biden said they gave Nasrallah's victims and their families a, quote, measure of justice. But as Israel struck more Hezbollah targets overnight, President Biden also called for a ceasefire in the region, as U.S. officials watch carefully for Iran's threatened retaliation for Nasrallah's and the possibility that Israel could move ground forces into Lebanon. Joining me now to discuss, White House National Security's communications advisor, Admiral John Kirby. Admiral, thanks for joining us. So, first of all, is President Biden glad that Israel took this action?
I don't think anybody's mourning the loss of Mr. Nasrallah, a guy with American blood on his hands as well as Israeli blood on his hands. This is an organization. He was the leader of it. And I think People are safer without him walking around. But they'll try to recover. We're watching to see what they do to try to fill this leadership vacuum. It's going to be tough. Much of their command structure has now been wiped out.
So the Israelis targeting Nasrallah flattened several large buildings in the heart of densely populated Beirut, the suburb of Beirut. Do you have any indication at all what the civilian toll might be?
I don't think we have an exact number, Jake. We certainly assume. In fact,
someone said, do you think if Turkey's military intervenes in Lebanon to save the Lebanese people and help the Lebanese National Army, would you say that it would be a heroic move similar to China? Brother, if you think that Turkey is going to use its NATO forces in defense of Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is an enemy of Turkey, okay, both because it's a NATO force, but also because they literally fought each other in Syria, let me tell you something, okay? You're living in La La Land. There is 0% chance. There is 0% chance that Turkey would do such a thing. Oh.
I can go so far as to say we know that there are civilian casualties here. There's no question about that.
I mean, dozens, hundreds, thousands?
I don't think we can quantify it right now. We're in touch with our Israeli counterparts about that. Each single civilian is a tragedy. And certainly, while, again, nobody's mourning Nasrallah, we certainly do mourn any loss of civilians.
Turkey was pro-ISIS because ISIS was fighting Kurds? No, dog. Turkey was pro-ISIS because ISIS was being used as the other side of accelerating conflict in the region by the United States of America. You think Turkey gets to offer logistical support to ISIS without America's know-how? Like, what are we doing here, guys? Come on, please, please, please. Be for real. I will forever repeat something that is really significant that many people don't even know. Turkey has many American military bases. Some of those many American military bases literally have American nukes in them. Okay? American nukes. Do you now think that Turkey gets to do stuff without America's know-how? That's crazy. Turkey is a NATO nation. It's just not, that's not happening. From one side, you don't support Israel, and in the other hand, you don't support Hamas or Hezbollah. Can you elaborate on what your beliefs are on the situation? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. I don't support Israel. I believe the Israeli apartheid has to be abolished. And in terms of like anyone that fights back against that, I understand exactly where they're coming from. I might not agree with all their methods, but I totally understand the resentment that other regional actors have.
So before President Obama gave the order,
in terms of like defending its own territorial sovereignty and its own territorial boundaries, by the way, they are correct. Okay? Like October 7 aside, every action that like any kind of Palestinian resistance group engages in terms of a spontaneous militia against Israeli incursion into Gaza is morally righteous and also legal under international law. So, you know, all that conversation is ridiculous. It is both legal and moral. You would expect the same. You would do the same thing. If someone was blowing up your houses, you would try to fight back. I might not agree with I don't agree with Islamist fundamentalism, okay? But that has no weight in this conversation when we're talking about Israel conducting a genocide. Nobody can point out a single attack by Hezbollah, but they are called that. I mean, people can point out attacks by Hezbollah. Come on, dog. Like, they kind of were very successful at suicide, like pretty successful. Don't check your pager. Lol. Oh my God. Hasan, you are so in the tank for Hezbollah. I hope that they blow you up. Dude, you think I haven't heard this before? Like, what the f do you mean? I'm an American citizen living in the United States of America. If it offends you that much that I think America's actions are not good for you and not good for anyone else in the region, all right? I don't know what to tell you. That's so up to say. I'm sorry people are so cruel. I mean, look, dude, this is the one area where they got me. There's not much I can do. I'm a white dude, okay? I'm a white dude who's cisgender, heterosexual. I'm a man. You know, you can't really get me on many things. This is the one area where you can immediately dehumanize me and say that everything I have to say and everything I have to stand for is actually biased. You can portray me as like this evil barbaric force. This is the one aspect of it. And so you just got to hand it to them. There's not much else you can do, you know? I don't think Turkey's as restrained by the U.S. as you say. They certainly are to an extent, but they've also done things like invade northern Syria and American-funded and trained allies without American approval. Yeah, You think America cares about the allies that it trains in the area? Cares about its second largest military force in NATO? That's just a little give and take chatter. What are you on about? How many times have Americans just off from the region after arming Kurdish militias and then been like, all right, go to town. Come on, brother. The only that Turkey does that is outside of the scope of American interest is stuff that America actually responds to, okay? Like not allowing, originally in its statement, not allowing Finland and Sweden into NATO, or securing energy contracts with Russia, or trying to get Russian anti-air missile systems while still staying on the F-35 platform. And when they do that kind of stuff, because Turkey is like definitely wild in its own foreign policy, America kicks in and goes, hey, calm down. You can't do that. That's it.
For SEAL Team 6 to go in and take out bin Laden, there was talk of an airstrike against the compound, and the decision was made to not do so, A, because they weren't sure about the intelligence, and B, because they were worried about, Obama was worried about civilian casualties. The Israelis went a different direction. Obviously, their intelligence was solid. But do you think Israel made the right decision doing it the way they did it?
Again, I think having decimated the command structure of Hezbollah certainly works to the Israelis' advantage. It's actually good for the region, good for the world. I'll let the Israelis speak to the decision-making process they made, why they chose to go this route. We are continuing to talk to the Israelis about what the right next steps are. And as you rightly said in the opening here, the president continues to believe that there needs to be time and space.
I think it's funny to say Obama cared about civilian casualties, but in this instance, the American foreign policy has gotten more reactionary. So I think it's important to make note of that. Okay? It's correct. America's foreign policy has gotten significantly worse in the last decade. Okay? We are so much more violent, even though you're like, how can we get more violent in terms of like the cost benefit analysis of like civilian to enemy combatant ratio? Like America doesn't give a shit about civilians for sure. Okay, for sure. But at least in its communications, like George W. Bush, which is a warmongering, monstrous piece, his administration has a permanent slot in the worst layer of hell. Even they had a different communication when Israel assassinated like, you know, leadership within the insurgency or militancy when they killed like civilians alongside them. Like, at least they cared about trying to present themselves as like this moral nation. Okay? We've completely dropped that. And it's not just the Republicans that have dropped that. The Democrats have dropped that as well.
For diplomacy. And that means we'd like to see a ceasefire in place so that diplomacy can breathe.
Iran condemned the killing of Nasrallah and said the U.S. is, quote, complicit in Israel's actions. How concerned is President Biden about the potential for a direct conflict, a direct military conflict between Israel and Iran, and maybe even involving the United States? Iran certainly has tried any number of things, including recently hacking President Trump's campaign, talking about an assassination attempt on President Trump. How concerned is President Biden about a possible direct confrontation between the U.S. and Iran?
We've been concerned almost since the beginning of this conflict about it broadening, widening, becoming a regional war. That's why, again, the president and the G7 leaders just a few days ago talked about calling for a 21-day ceasefire, and everything else that the president's been doing, including adding force capability, military forces to the region, is designed to prevent that exact outcome. Now, we'll watch and see. We've seen the rhetoric coming out of Tehran. We'll watch and see what they do. We certainly will make sure that we have the capability to not only defend our troops and our facilities, diplomats and military, as well as Israel itself. If it comes to that, hopefully it won't.
There was a State Department spokesman the other day who said that he didn't know of any incident in recent history where escalation led to de-escalation, and that is obviously a concern when it comes to these big strikes by Israel, no matter how abhorrent the targets, if there are civilians that are taken out in the process. Do you agree that escalation seldom leads to de-escalation, as that State Department spokesman said?
I think what we would agree on is that there needs to be an effort to de-escalate here. Again, Israel has a right to defend itself and a responsibility to do so. I mean, Hezbollah, under Mr. Nasrallah, was a lethal threat to the Israeli people. They want to get their families back to those homes and kibbutzes in the north. We want to see that too. We believe and continue to believe that an all-out war with Hezbollah, certainly with Iran, is not the way to do that. If you want to get those folks back home safely and sustainably, we believe that a diplomatic path is the right course.
The Biden administration, quite frankly, seemed caught off guard by the strike. We were told that the president didn't find out about it until planes were already in the air. When the Secretary of Defense landed at Andrews, he seemed to distance himself from the strike. He said the U.S. was not involved in the operation. And before that, the U.S. thought that there had been buy-in from Prime Minister.
That's a straight up lie, bro. Nope. Also, not only is that a fucking straight up lie, but also beyond that, how many times has Israel done this? Anthony Blinken will go into a meeting with like Israeli government, and then immediately after he's like done with the meeting, before he gets on the plane, they're like, hey, Anthony Blinken, Israel just like facilitated the largest land grab in Israeli history since like 1967. And it'll be like, oh, I didn't know that just happened. They're like, yeah, no, it just happened right after you left the meeting. Like, it's just, they're dog walking our people, dude. They're dog walking our leadership. Straight up. Biden will be like, oh, Israel, don't do that. And then the next day, Israel will be like, you. Biden will be like, hey, Israel, cut it out. Two-state solution. Next day, Netanyahu's like, suck my dick. No state solution.
Mr. Netanyahu as to a ceasefire with Hezbollah, but then ultimately he was not on board. How strained are relations between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu?
These are two guys that have known each other for 40 years, Jake, and they have never, and I suspect they will never, agree on every single aspect of
Hasan, I'm curious about Jordan specifically. Although the people of Jordan sympathize with the Palestinians and the Lebanese cause, I'm curious why the kingdom's government is not extremely critical of the Israeli government. Do you know? I don't know. Maybe because the kingdom is literally an imperial vestige directly created by the British Empire and placed in a position of power. Like, Jordan, straight up, I'm sorry to say this to all the Jordanian chatters, but like, it's just territory that's waiting to be seized one day, okay? It's just a holding ground. That's it. It is a holding ground for all of the Palestinians that escaped Israel, for the most part, and whoever lives there still. That's it. It's just sitting there waiting to be, annexed and acquired for security reasons later, maybe like 10 years down the line. That's it.
Foreign policy and what we're trying to get done in the Middle East. But they do agree on the big thing. And the big thing is the safety and security of the state of Israel and, trying to avoid an all-out war that would put the people of Israel at even greater risk. They agree on that. They're going to continue to talk and they'll be candid and forthright with one another.
Yeah, Seamus, ignoring Jordan, still collaborating with Israel regardless of the solution. The Jordanian foreign minister makes a salient point here, okay? And if Netanyahu does not want a two-state solution, can you ask Israeli officials what their end game is other than just wars and wars and wars? Yeah, it's true. Jordan's foreign minister Ayman Safadi on Friday responded to Netanyahu's claim that Israel was surrounded by enemies by saying 57 Muslim Arab countries want peace within the context of Israel ending its occupation and a Palestinian state. How dare you say that about Jordan? I pay my electricity bill, which goes to the government of France so I can watch you. Yeah. Our tribes here won't allow it. Trust me, they have lots of guns in Jordan. Dog, look at Hezbollah. It's probably one of the most powerful standing armies against Israeli incursion. Look at the way that Israel is treating everyone that is in the vicinity. And look at the way that, first of all, if you're saying that about your tribes in Jordan, how do you pair that up with the way that your current government treats pro-Palestinian protesters? They're like black bagging out there. Okay, if they get a little bit out of line, it's like, is it Jordan or is it Columbia campus in New York City? I don't know. Jordanian Mama Liga. Yeah. No, they are not, dude. Oh my God, sucking Hezbollah dick. Bro, don't blame the Jordanian king. We all know anyone who stirs the pot will just receive the promoting democracy treatment. This isn't like sucking Hezbollah dick. I'm just telling you, are you actually gonna act like the Jordanian king is not a colonial vestige? Like, what are we talking about? What's going on here? Like, the Jordanian king's wife is Palestinian, and I'm still saying this, okay? Technically. You don't know how nationalist the countries with monarchs are in the Middle East, trust me. You use her title of queen, peasant. True. Some have the idea that Jordan is safe from Israel because of the amount of Palestinians who live in Jordan. No, it is precisely that reason that they are not safe. This isn't to like say that, you know, you shouldn't offer Palestinians a place of residence or allow them safe harbor. It's just that Israel will use the Palestinians like it did in Lebanon to attack eventually when they want the territory. That's it. It's that simple. No, we all know he is, but at the same time, what the can them do without America's barreling against them? No, I mean, you can say that about why he is also in a defensive posture and participated in the defensive measures defending Israel against Iranian retaliation. Just Iranian retaliation. That's it. That's the point. The Arab nations will not let Israel annex Jordan. That's crazy because Israel's currently kickstarting the affairs of further annexation beyond Syria and beyond Sheba Farms into Lebanon now. So I haven't really seen the Arab nations do anything but say this at the United Nations. Finger wagging. Now, listen, this is why I say they're in a holding pattern. Arab governance, for the most part, how about Egypt? Come on, don't get me started on Egypt, okay? Arab nations are in a holding pattern. They are there to ensure that their citizens don't rise up and decapitate their leadership and do a coup d'etat. Their entire purpose is to be like, no, we hate Israel, I promise you, while also still getting a steady flow of weapons from the United States of America, which also obviously means you have to associate yourself with Israel, both on paper, post-Abraham Accords, or pre-Abraham Accords, off paper, off the record. There is no difference between Turkey and the Arab nations that we speak of. All of these regional actors would be so much happier if everybody shut the hell up about Israel. They would be, they would love it. They'd be like, oh, thank God. Especially when it comes to Turkey, it's like attacking Hezbollah is also beneficial for Turkey anyway. It eats away at the regional influence and power that Iran has. Iran and Turkey are at odds with one another, both by way of NATO, but also because of Turkey's own regional interests. Like, it's just, you know, they'll openly say it at times. I think MBS said something similar recently. He just openly was like, oh, God, Palestinians, they just like won't go away. The reason why they think that is because they want American weapons. They don't care that Israel exists there. Okay, they don't care whose territory Israel takes up more and more of. My Jordanian friend theorized that Jordan has undiscovered oil reserves, so that it stays neutral refugee state under Western influence. Oil would create a power imbalance. Jordan is a buffer state. Israel doesn't really want it. It doesn't have much for them to take, except maybe Bethlehem. What is this? Al Arabiya. Israeli army announces the start of a ground operation in Lebanon. 3:53, right at the top of the hour. No way, guys. I can't believe Israel would start a ground operation in southern Lebanon. What the I'm shocked. Who could have foreseen this? Who could have seen this coming, dude? Well, you should have seen the top of the hour ad break coming too, because I telegraph it every goddamn time at the top of the hour. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $4 until the month of September is over, or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, or by getting gifted a sub. Here's the ad break now. Didn't you literally call this happening back in like November last year, or was it like 1 week after October 7th? I mean, I've been saying this for some time. I don't know exactly when I started saying it, but it's been a while. Man, I mean, there are, just look back at my tweets, you'll find it. I kept saying over and over again, that, you know, right as the month of October has begun, the October surprise has begun, which is not a surprise at all, but an October assurance at this point, an October promise at this point. This is why they pay me the big bucks, baby. This is why. Before you say, oh, dude, like, why can't you predict something good? Sorry, good things don't happen. Do you think there's a Ryan Ruth of Lebanon out there? No. You always said Hezbollah, Lebanon will stop Israel if they invaded. Do you think this is still the case with Nasrallah gone and the leadership basically gone? I still think that the Hezbollah defenses are pretty significant. I just look to what I look at what Israel has been able to do in Gaza and how much of a penalty they have incurred in Gaza. And then I think about how much more powerful the standing military and how much more combat ready the standing military of Hezbollah is in Lebanon. I look at the history of the Hezbollah resistance in Lebanon against Israeli invasion, and I think to myself, this is an insane endeavor to engage in if you do not have full-blown commitments from America coming in and also helping you. You just created Rian al-Ruthi by denying his existence. Our Lebanese warrior is real. How is Israel invading Lebanon with a shortage of tanks and APCs? What's Israel going to do? Bonsai charge over the border? First of all, America. I'm just going to keep saying the United States of America. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre walks back Biden's comfortable with them stopping comment when pressed by a reporter. What is this?
The president said this morning that, quote, I'm comfortable with them stopping with regards to the Israeli potential incursion into Lebanon. What did he mean by that, and does that mean he's uncomfortable with them continuing?
No, I answer that question, which is we believe that Israel has the right to defend itself against Hezbollah and Iran-backed groups. We have said that. We've also have said that Israel is in a tough neighborhood. You've heard us say that. They really are. And so we believe they have the right to defend itself. What we also want to see is a diplomatic resolution here. We do want to see a ceasefire. Ultimately, that's what we need to see in order to...
Israel has a right to defend itself. Again, guys, okay? Sorry. Southern Lebanon is just standing there looking good, okay? It's kind of their fault for being in this tough neighborhood, okay? You don't understand. It's like you're stupid and silly and anti-Semitic. You're stupid and anti-Semitic for saying that what Israel is doing is not defense but offense. Okay? Why are you not seeing the truth that Israel has to invade southern Lebanon? God.
Get to a place where we can get to a ceasefire, right? Where we can see citizens going back to their homes on both sides. So that still remains to be true. But do we want to see, ultimately want to see, get to a place where we get to a diplomatic resolution? Yes, that's what we want.
What is this? You finally got a Mossad DM?
No, what we have said is consistently.
Oh, the Black Trans Pride Worldwide? No way. No way. Congratulations, Andrew. I think it was Kwame Ture that said, he said, if Israel's the good guys, then God bless the villains. I think it was Kwame Ture, if I'm not mistaken, that once said famously, if I'm the Imam of Mecca, okay, and America's fighting the devil, I'm gonna fight on the side of the devil. It's true. P.S. As a Lebanese American citizen living in Lebanon, I can confirm that the U.S. has yet to charter any planes for us. On October 7th, the U.S. immediately chartered flights for Israeli American citizens. Maybe us Browns are bad for the upcoming vote. Yeah. By God, they did it. They did it. I thought maybe they wouldn't, because maybe they would recognize that this is not the greatest idea, considering the diaper brigade's glaringly obvious L's that they've taken in terms of like militarily defeating Hamas. Nope. Now they're going into Lebanon. Oh my God. I hate to say it to the Lebanese American chatters, but you have been relegated. You have been downgraded in your hierarchy to the lowest rank, which is Palestinian American. Unfortunately, you are in the crosshairs of Israel. Israel has a military and material interest, and therefore now you are, in the way. In accordance with the decision of the political echelon, a few hours ago, the IDF began limited, localized, and targeted ground raids based on the precise intelligence against Hezbollah terrorist targets and infrastructure in southern Lebanon. These targets are located in villages close to the border and pose an immediate threat to Israeli communities in northern Israel. So the problem with this, by the way, is that Israel doesn't just like go and do a precise and limited targeted operation. They usually are too cowardly to actually put their diaper-wearing troops in the line of direct fire. So they just like blow up everything before they move in. So that's what they're doing. Remember when they did this in Rafah too, by the way? The IDF is operating according to a methodical plan set out by the General Staff and Northern Command, which IDF soldiers have trained and prepared it for in recent months. The Israeli Air Force and IDF artillery are supporting the ground forces with precise strikes on military targets in the area. There you go. Here it is. These operations were approved and carried out in accordance with the decision of the political echelon. Operation Northern Arrows will continue according to the situational assessment and in parallel combat in Gaza and other arenas. The IDF is continuing to operate to achieve the goals of the war and is doing everything necessary to defend the citizens of Israel and return the citizens of northern Israel to their homes. By the way, they said this verbatim about Gaza. Israel has learned that if you want to do a ground invasion that the U.S. pretends to oppose, you can just call us something else at the beginning. Problem solved. They did this with Gaza too. Wow, I'm not following Dylan Saba. That's crazy. He's pretty cool. This man has been in Turkey more recently than me, let me tell you. Yeah, officials believe Israel will not conduct full invasion of Lebanon. If Yemen was next, Hasan, would it be amphibious landing operation or parachuting operation or both? I'm worried for the Yemenis communities. I don't know if they'll touch Yemen for now. Anyway, what was it? What was like the Russian government's official statement? What was it? Limited ground operation. Didn't they use the same exact words? Special ground operation. Al Jazeera is live covering it now.
This is a war against Hezbollah by Israel. If the Lebanese army get involved, then it suddenly becomes a war by Israel on Lebanon. So that's why the Lebanese army have withdrawn back to their barracks. They're calling it a tactical redeployment. But Hezbollah have also issued a statement, just very quickly. They say that they've shelled an Israeli force at the gate of the Shatula settlement with artillery shells and achieved a direct hit. That's likely to be one of the positions that the Israeli army have come in to southern Lebanon from. And they also say they've gone on to hit 13 targets during the day. So that ground offensive is now happening. The Israelis say it's localized, it's limited in scope. That's the kind of language you've also heard from the Americans as well. But let's see how this goes.
Yes.
Hezbollah's strength has always been to fight on the ground.
Imran, thank you for that. Imran Khan, live there in Marjayoun, southern Lebanon. Let's find out what's happening in Beirut, the Lebanese capital, because there were intense airstrikes there. In the last few hours, we heard some heavy bombing and warnings from the Israeli army for some residents of some suburbs of Beirut, the southern suburbs, to evacuate. Dorsa Jabari is in the Lebanese capital for us. Bring us up to speed with what's happened there, Dorsa.
Well, the Israeli military carried out at least 7 airstrikes in the southern suburbs of the capital, including neighborhoods of Imberj as well as Leilaki, which is close to the airport. Now, based on the footage that we've seen come out from those neighborhoods in Dahya, it appears that residential buildings were once again targeted, and at least 4 or 5 of residential buildings have been completely leveled in certain neighborhoods. Now, according to the Israelis, they did put out a warning issuing residents to evacuate certain areas within Dahya, saying that they're going to be using full force to attack what they called were Hezbollah strong assets within these areas and these neighborhoods. But many people are telling us now that they have also struck various other neighborhoods that were not part of the evacuation order. Of course, all this comes as we are now seeing Israeli boots on the ground onto Lebanese territory. And this is not the first time that the people of Lebanon will wake up to the news in their country to hear that this has happened. This will be the 4th ground offensive that Israel has carried out on Lebanon since this country became an independent nation in 1943. Israeli troops invaded Lebanon in 1978, in 1982, in 2006, and now October 1st, 2024, will be once again remembered as a day that Israel entered Lebanese territory.
Indeed. And the warnings they've issued to residents of those southern suburbs of Beirut earlier to evacuate. I mean, these are densely populated areas, especially one of them, the Burj al-Bashna refugee.
They just bombed the Hodeidah port, which is 80% of humanitarian aid that Yemen goes through. What do you mean they won't touch Yemen? No, I meant like they won't invade Yemen. Sorry. I should have said they will. I don't know. I don't think they will try and like invade Yemen. I think they'll just keep bombing Yemen as they have. They have their hands a little too busy right now with ensuring that Israel invades Lebanon successfully. Why don't they have air defenses? I mean, dude, if you have air defenses when Israel bombs Beirut, you just laser the Israeli F-15s. You can't have that, can you? who's going to give you the air defenses? They want to make sure that the people that give you the air defense, if you're Lebanon, is going to be Western allies. Okay? Because you're officially in the orbit of Western empire. Number one problem there is Hezbollah is the most resilient and strongest political force in the country. You're not going to let Hezbollah take control over your air defenses. Are you kidding me? That's basically like giving it to Iran directly. So that's number one. In the eyes of the Western world, that's how they see it. Number two, if you give them air defenses, they're going to use them. What do you mean? If you have any kind of like real sovereignty, if you have any kind of real sovereignty in terms of air defenses, like, yeah, you think Israel can fly over your country and bomb your capital? No. Israel is attacking Syria. Not sure if true. I think they're more focused. I think they are more focused on, Lebanon right now.
To say.
Israel may be now launching a limited operation into Lebanon. Are you aware of that? Are you comfortable with their plan?
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now.
Let's get reaction with Mike Hanna in Washington, D.C. for us.